everyone. My name is Father Peter O'Neill from Geelong in Victoria. I'm the Vicar General of the Missionary Society of St. Columban and presently living and working at our Columban International Leadership Team's headquarters in Hong Kong. I was ordained a Columban missionary priest in October 1990. During my high school at St. Joseph's College, Geelong, in the mid-1970s, the Australian government welcomed thousands of Vietnamese refugees to make Australia their new home. My parents were part of a program organised by the Catholic communities in Geelong to welcome the refugees and help them adjust to life in a new culture. Every 2 months, my parents welcomed 4 young Vietnamese men in their late teens to stay with our family for the weekend. They were living in the refugee shelter in Melbourne while studying English. Even though our home was already quite full with 6 children, my parents opened our home to the Vietnamese refugees. It was a life-changing experience for me as a 16-year-old teenager. I had never met anyone from Vietnam before. I had heard about the Vietnam War and was deeply moved by the stories of the young Vietnamese men sharing their harrowing experiences of escaping Vietnam by boat. Here was I in Australia, living a very comfortable lifestyle with a good upbringing. I could never imagine having to escape a war-torn country for my survival. At the beginning of Year 12 during our school retreat, the Passionist priest asked us to reflect on what we would like to do after finishing high school. I had already decided to go to university to become a scientist. However, God had other plans for me. I heard this voice saying to me, "Why don't you become a missionary priest?" After Year 12, I was accepted into Melbourne University to do a degree in applied science. However, God's voice was very persistent. I decided to have a gap year and worked as a laboratory technician in a phosphate company in Geelong. This gave me more time to reflect on what I wanted to do with my life. As an 18-year-old teenager, my faith was important to me. I found myself wanting to learn more about the life of Jesus, so I started reading the gospel stories. I was deeply touched by Jesus' words, "I was hungry and you gave me food. I was a stranger and you welcomed me." I wrote to 4 missionary congregations to learn more about them. One of them was the Columban missionaries. The Columban Vocation's director, Father Bernard Cleary, sent me a few books about Columban mission in Burma, now Myanmar, Korea, Fiji, and the Philippines. I was totally captivated by the life of the Columban missionaries as told in these books. I thought to myself, I will join the Columbans for 1 year to satisfy God and then get God's voice out of my head and go to university to become a scientist. I went to the Columban Seminary in Sydney in February 1982, and 35 years later, I'm still a Columban missionary priest. As a seminarian, I went to Japan for 2 years, where I studied Japanese for 1 year, and then worked with the homeless people in Tokyo City. After my ordination, I volunteered to go to Taiwan because there were only a small number of Columban missionaries there. I studied Mandarin Chinese for 2 years at the Catholic University in Taipei, and then began my ministry working with the local workers and then the migrant workers. In 1986, the Columban missionaries in Taiwan opened the Hope Worker Centre as an outreach to the thousands of migrant workers who were coming to Taiwan to work. I began working at the centre in 1995 and became the centre's director. The centre helped migrant workers and trafficked peoples who were victims of abuse in their workplace, provided educational programs, pastoral services to the Catholic migrants, as well as advocating for changes to the labour law to better protect the rights of migrant workers. After working at the Hope Worker Centre for 12 years, the Bishop invited me to become the Diocesan Migrant Chaplain and the Director of the Diocesan Migrant Centre, where I worked for 10 years. In July 2017, I returned to Melbourne to take up a new assignment as the Columban Justice, Peace and Ecology Coordinator for Australia. In July 2024, I moved to Hong Kong. Pope Francis, in his 2015 encyclical Laudato Si, invited all of us to an ecological conversion and to care for our common home. Pope Leo is now continuing in the footsteps of Pope Francis. To care for God's creation, we need to first come to an appreciation of creation. In our busy lives, God invites us to slow down and notice God's creation through the flowers, trees, birds, butterflies, and the smallest of insects. We are called to use less plastic as it pollutes our environment and oceans. Pope Francis also called us to be ethical consumers and to buy clothing and other products that have been ethically made by workers who receive a just wage and safe working conditions. Many of the clothes sold in department stores in Australia have been made in overseas sweatshops where the workers are treated like slaves. In 15 countries across the world, Columban missionaries are working with grassroots communities to care for our common home through education programs on recycling, tree planting, beach cleanups, just to name a few. We also provide a welcome to migrant workers in the local communities where we serve, advocating in solidarity with them and people of other faiths and worldviews for their rights and dignity. Thank you very much.